What if I told you that you possess within you right now the same creative power that spoke the universe into existence? That every word you speak with intention carries the potential to reshape your reality in ways you never imagined possible? Most people go through life believing they are powerless victims of circumstance, unaware that they were created in the image and likeness of God Himself. Have you ever experienced moments when your words seemed to manifest exactly what you declared? Perhaps you dismissed it as coincidence, but what you witnessed was actually the divine inheritance operating through you. The truth that spiritual teachers like Emmet Fox revealed is revolutionary yet simple. You are not just a physical being struggling through life. You are a spiritual being temporarily clothed in matter, carrying within you the kingdom of God itself. This isn't some distant heaven you must wait to reach. It's a living presence dwelling in your heart at this very moment, waiting to be recognized and activated. The ancient art of decreeing isn't about wishful thinking or positive affirmations that float helplessly into the universe. What you're about to discover might surprise you. Decrees are acts of creation, sacred keys that operate on invisible planes, moving energy and transforming the very fabric of reality around you. When Jesus said, "The kingdom of God is within you," He wasn't speaking metaphorically. He was revealing the greatest secret of human existence, that you have been endowed with divine authority to speak into existence the life you desire. Every decree you make with faith becomes a bridge connecting your outer world with the infinite source of all good. Stay with me until the end, because what we're about to explore will fundamentally change how you understand your power as a spiritual being. You're about to learn how to wield the same creative force that shaped the cosmos. Before we dive deeper into these sacred teachings, I want to acknowledge something beautiful that happens in our community. Every time one of you shares your own spiritual experiences in the comments below, you're not just telling a story. You're adding to a collective awakening that ripples out far beyond what we can see. If this topic about divine inheritance and the kingdom within resonates with you, drop a comment below about what touched you the most. Have you noticed your words manifesting in your life? Have you felt that divine presence stirring within you? Your participation here is what helps this channel grow and reach more people with this kind of content. When you like this video, you're sending a signal to others who are seeking these truths. You're helping them find their way to these life-changing teachings. And if you choose to subscribe, you're joining a family of souls committed to exploring the deeper mysteries of our spiritual nature together. This isn't just about building a channel, it's about building a movement of conscious beings who understand their divine power. Each comment, each like, each subscription creates an energetic thread that weaves us together in purpose. Together, we're not just learning about decrees, we're living them, speaking life into existence and supporting each other's journey towards spiritual mastery. Now, let's return to the profound truth that Emmet Fox revealed about our divine nature. And I want to go even deeper into this topic because what we're uncovering here is absolutely revolutionary for anyone serious about transformation. Think about this for a moment. In the beginning was the Word. These aren't just beautiful poetic verses from ancient scripture. They're revealing the fundamental operating system of reality itself. The conscious decree is literally the divine instrument through which all existence was brought into being. Every star, every galaxy, every grain of sand came into manifestation through the power of the spoken word. And here's the mind-blowing truth that most people miss. You carry that same creative authority within you. But here's where the journey gets really interesting. Most of us have been conditioned to approach the divine like beggars at a door, pleading and hoping that maybe, just maybe, we'll receive some scraps of blessing. We've been taught to grovel, to feel unworthy, to ask permission for what should naturally flow through us. This mindset has created more limitation and suffering than perhaps any other single belief system in human history. Christ never taught us to beg. Read the scriptures carefully. He never once modeled desperation or unworthiness. Instead, he spoke with absolute authority as legitimate sons and daughters of the Most High. When he said, "Rise, take up your bed and walk," he wasn't requesting a favor from a distant deity. He was declaring a spiritual reality that already existed, commanding matter to align with spirit. This is the hidden truth behind every genuine transformation you've ever witnessed. This is what separates those who create lasting change from those who remain stuck in cycles of limitation. The difference isn't in circumstances, background, or even natural talent. The difference lies in understanding and wielding this fundamental principle of creative authority. Your words aren't just sounds vibrating through air. They're decrees that shape the invisible substance of reality. When you truly grasp this, when you move from begging to declaring, something shifts in the very fabric of your existence. You stop being a victim of circumstances and become a conscious creator of your experience. The impact of this revelation cannot be overstated. It changes everything: your relationships, your finances, your health, your entire life trajectory. You begin to speak differently, think differently, act differently. You realize that the kingdom of heaven isn't some distant reward you must earn through suffering, but a present reality you access through right understanding and conscious decree. But here's what makes this journey so fascinating. Most people brush past this truth because it seems too simple, too good to be true. They're looking for complex formulas, secret techniques, or special initiation into some exclusive mystery school. Meanwhile, the most powerful force in the universe, the creative word, is sitting right there, waiting to be recognized and utilized. Behind the scenes of every great spiritual awakening, every miraculous healing, every incredible manifestation, you'll find this same principle at work. People who understand their divine authority and speak from that place of knowing rather than pleading. People who have made the fundamental shift from supplication to declaration. Comment below, "I recognize my divine authority." Now I want to go even deeper into how this actually works in practical terms, because understanding the principle is just the beginning. The manifestation process operates on a completely different level than most people realize, and this hidden truth will transform how you approach every challenge in your life. Here's the revelation that changes everything. To decree is not to ask, it is to manifest. Think about the profound difference between these two approaches. When you ask, you're acknowledging lack. When you manifest, you're affirming spiritual truth that already exists in the divine mind. You're not trying to convince God to give you something. You're recognizing what is already yours by divine right. This isn't just positive thinking or wishful visualization. This is engaging with the fundamental structure of reality itself. Behind the scenes of every apparent miracle, every sudden breakthrough, every impossible transformation, you'll find someone who shifted from requesting to decreeing, from begging to manifesting. Jesus demonstrated this principle so perfectly when he spoke about moving mountains. He didn't say, "Pray really hard and maybe the mountain will move." He said something far more radical. "Whoever says to this mountain, 'Be taken up and thrown into the sea,' and does not doubt in his heart, but believes that what he says will happen, it will be done." Notice the precision of this statement. Whoever says, not thinks or hopes or wishes, but speaks with authority. The mountain represents every obstacle in your path, every limitation that seems immovable, every situation that appears hopeless. Your finances, your relationships, your health challenges, your seemingly impossible dreams. These are all mountains waiting for someone with the right understanding to speak to them with divine authority. But here's where most people stumble on this journey. They try to use this power from the wrong mindset. They attempt to manipulate outcomes from a place of desperation rather than recognizing truth from a place of knowing. The difference is everything. When you decree from desperation, you're actually affirming the very lack you're trying to overcome. When you decree from recognition of divine truth, you're aligning with what already exists in the realm of spirit. This is why mountain-moving faith isn't about generating enough emotional intensity or repeating affirmations until you believe them. It's about recognizing that in the spiritual realm, your good already exists. Your healing already exists. Your abundance already exists. Your perfect relationships already exist. The decree simply gives permission for the invisible to become visible. The impact of this understanding ripples through every area of life. Decisions become clearer because you're not operating from scarcity, but from abundance. Challenges become opportunities to apply spiritual law. Setbacks become temporary appearances that dissolve in the light of truth. You develop what I call manifestation confidence, the unshakable knowing that your word has power because it's aligned with divine will. Behind every great transformation story, you'll find someone who made this crucial shift in understanding. They stopped pleading with life to give them what they wanted and started recognizing what was already theirs. They moved from the energy of need to the energy of claim, from the vibration of lack to the vibration of abundance. This journey requires a fundamental rewiring of how you think about manifestation itself. It's not about forcing the universe to bend to your will. It's about aligning your will with the divine blueprint that already exists for your life. It's about saying yes to what God has already said yes to. The revelations continue to unfold when you truly embrace this principle. Your entire relationship with prayer, meditation, and spiritual practice transforms. You're no longer a beggar at the gates of heaven. You're a beloved child speaking from your rightful inheritance. Now, I want to go even deeper into the mechanics of faith itself, because understanding why some decrees manifest instantly while others seem to take longer reveals the final key to this divine technology. Comment below, I manifest from divine truth. Now I want to go even deeper into the mechanics of faith itself, because understanding why some decrees manifest instantly while others seem to take longer reveals the final key to this divine technology. And the hidden truth behind this will completely revolutionize your approach to every word you speak. Here's what most people miss on their transformation journey. Everything you affirm with faith becomes manifest, whether for good or harm. Every single word is a seed planted in the fertile soil of your soul. Think about the profound responsibility this places on your daily conversations, your internal dialogue, your casual statements. You're literally creating your reality one word at a time, and most people are doing this unconsciously, planting seeds of limitation, fear, and lack without even realizing it. This is why some people seem stuck in cycles of the same problems. They're unknowingly decreeing their limitations through habitual language patterns. When you say, I'm always broke, I never have enough time, relationships never work out for me, you're not just describing your current situation, you're creating your future reality. Behind the scenes of every persistent problem, you'll find repetitive word patterns that keep reinforcing the unwanted experience. But here's where this journey becomes truly fascinating. Once you understand this principle, you gain the power to consciously plant seeds of transformation. You begin to monitor your language like a master gardener, pulling out the weeds of negative decree and planting seeds of divine truth. The real revelation comes when you realize that the inner Christ is not some distant ideal you're trying to reach. It's your true identity right now. The divine spark burning in the depths of your soul isn't something you need to develop or earn. It's what you already are, waiting to be recognized and expressed through your conscious word. This changes everything about how you decree. You're not a human trying to convince God to help you. You're the divine expressing itself through human form. You're not reaching up to heaven. You're speaking from heaven through the sacred vessel of your being. This shift in identity transforms the very quality of your decrees from hopeful requests to authoritative declarations of truth. Most people struggle with manifestation because they're trying to decree from their small, limited sense of self. They're operating from the ego's perspective, which sees separation, lack, and limitation. But when you decree from the inner Christ, from your divine identity, you're speaking from the place of infinite possibility, abundance, and creative power. This is why faith becomes such a crucial element in the process. Faith isn't about believing in something external. It's about recognizing something internal. It's about remembering who you really are and speaking from that truth. When you know yourself as divine, your words carry divine authority. When you remember your true identity, your decrees become irresistible forces of manifestation. The impact of this understanding ripples through every decision you make, every relationship you enter, every challenge you face. You begin to speak differently in your daily life. You catch yourself before uttering limiting statements. You develop what I call conscious speech, the practice of aligning every word with your highest truth. Behind every great transformation story, you'll discover someone who made this identity shift. They stopped speaking as victims and started speaking as victors. They stopped decreeing from lack and started declaring from abundance. They remembered their divine nature and let that truth guide their every utterance. This journey of conscious word power reveals layer after layer of hidden truth about your creative abilities. You start to notice synchronicities appearing in response to your decrees. Opportunities align with your spoken intentions. People show up who can help manifest your declarations. The whole universe begins to respond to your directed word. But here's what makes this even more powerful. You're not just creating your own reality through conscious decree. You're also impacting everyone around you. Your words carry vibrations that influence the entire field of consciousness. When you speak from divine truth, you're literally helping others remember their own divine nature. Now, I want to go even deeper into the mechanics of faith itself, because understanding why some decrees manifest instantly, while others seem to take longer, reveals the final key to this divine technology. And the hidden truth behind this will completely revolutionize your approach to every word you speak. Here's what most people miss on their transformation journey. Everything you affirm with faith becomes manifest, whether for good or harm. Every single word is a seed planted in the fertile soil of your soul. Think about the profound responsibility this places on your daily conversations, your internal dialogue, your casual statements. You're literally creating your reality one word at a time. And most people are doing this unconsciously, planting seeds of limitation, fear, and lack without even realizing it. This is why some people seem stuck in cycles of the same problems. They're unknowingly decreeing their limitations through habitual language patterns. When you say, "I'm always broke," "I never have enough time," "relationships never work out for me," you're not just describing your current situation. You're creating your future reality. Behind the scenes of every persistent problem, you'll find repetitive word patterns that keep reinforcing the unwanted experience. But here's where this journey becomes truly fascinating. Once you understand this principle, you gain the power to consciously plant seeds of transformation. You begin to monitor your language like a master gardener, pulling out the weeds of negative decree and planting seeds of divine truth. The real revelation comes when you realize that the inner Christ is not some distant ideal you're trying to reach. It's your true identity right now. The divine spark burning in the depths of your soul isn't something you need to develop or earn. It's what you already are, waiting to be recognized and expressed through your conscious word. This changes everything about how you decree. You're not a human trying to convince God to help you. You're the divine expressing itself through human form. You're not reaching up to heaven. You're speaking from heaven through the sacred vessel of your being. This shift in identity transforms the very quality of your decrees, from hopeful requests to authoritative declarations of truth. Most people struggle with manifestation because they're trying to decree from their small, limited sense of self. They're operating from the ego's perspective, which sees separation, lack, and limitation. But when you decree from the inner Christ, from your divine identity, you're speaking from the place of infinite possibility, abundance, and creative power. This is why faith becomes such a crucial element in the process. Faith isn't about believing in something external. It's about recognizing something internal. It's about remembering who you really are and speaking from that truth. When you know yourself as divine, your words carry divine authority. When you remember your true identity, your decrees become irresistible forces of manifestation. The impact of this understanding ripples through every decision you make, every relationship you enter, every challenge you face. You begin to speak differently in your daily life. You catch yourself before uttering limiting statements. You develop what I call conscious speech, the practice of aligning every word with your highest truth. Behind every great transformation story, you'll discover someone who made this identity shift. They stopped speaking as victims and started speaking as victors. They stopped decreeing from lack and started declaring from abundance. They remembered their divine nature and let that truth guide their every utterance. This journey of conscious word power reveals layer after layer of hidden truth about your creative abilities. You start to notice synchronicities appearing in response to your decrees. Opportunities align with your spoken intentions. People show up who can help manifest your declarations. The whole universe begins to respond to your directed word. But here's what makes this even more powerful. You're not just creating your own reality through conscious decree. You're also impacting everyone around you. Your words carry vibrations that influence the entire field of consciousness. When you speak from divine truth, you're literally helping others remember their own divine nature. Now, I want to go even deeper into how to practically implement this sacred technology in your daily life. Because knowing the principle is one thing, embodying it consistently is where the real transformation happens. And the hidden truth I'm about to share will completely reshape your understanding of prayer, manifestation, and spiritual authority. True decreeing comes from speaking with the inner Christ, not from the human personality trying to impose its will. This distinction is absolutely crucial for anyone serious about transformation. Most of us have been conditioned to approach manifestation from the ego's perspective, trying to manipulate outcomes based on what we think we want or need. But this approach creates resistance and struggle because it's based on separation, not unity. When you speak from the inner Christ, you're not trying to convince God to give you something. You're recognizing what already exists in divine mind and allowing it to express through you. It's like the difference between shouting across a chasm versus speaking from the center of unity. One requires effort and often meets resistance. The other flows naturally because it's aligned with divine will. This is what Jesus meant when he taught us to pray to your Father who is in secret. The secret he's referring to isn't some hidden location, it's the inner room of your consciousness. The Father in secret is the divine presence dwelling within you right now. When you enter this sacred inner space and speak with the Christ within you, your words take on an entirely different quality and power. Behind the scenes of every authentic spiritual breakthrough, you'll find someone who discovered this inner sanctuary. They stopped trying to petition an external deity and started communing with the divine spark within their own being. This shift in approach transforms prayer from begging to recognition, from asking to affirming, from hoping to knowing. The journey into this deeper understanding reveals layer after layer of truth about how consciousness actually creates reality. When you pray from your human personality, you're operating from the level of the problem. When you pray from the inner Christ, you're operating from the level of the solution. You're speaking from the place where your healing already exists, where your abundance already flows, where your perfect relationships already flourish. This is why some people's prayers seem to be answered immediately, while others struggle for years without seeing results. It's not that God plays favorites or that some people are more worthy. It's that some have discovered how to access this inner sanctuary and speak from divine authority rather than human limitation. The impact of this revelation ripples through every area of your life. Your decisions become clearer because you're receiving guidance from within. Your challenges become opportunities to practice speaking from divine truth rather than getting caught up in appearances. Your entire relationship with manifestation transforms from struggle to flow. But here's what makes this even more fascinating. When you truly learn to access this inner sanctuary, you discover that God has been waiting there all along, ready to co-create with you. The delay was never on God's side. It was simply a matter of you learning where and how to connect with this divine presence. This journey requires letting go of the need to figure everything out with your mind, and instead, learning to listen with your heart. It means developing the discipline to regularly enter your inner room, to commune with the Christ within, to align your human will with divine will. It's about making decisions not from fear or desperation, but from the place of divine wisdom and love. Behind every great manifestation, every miraculous healing, every abundant life, you'll find someone who cultivated this inner connection. They made it a practice to withdraw from the noise of the world and listen to the still, small voice within. They learned to distinguish between the ego's demands and the soul's calling. What's truly beautiful about this process is that it becomes easier and more natural over time. As you develop the habit of consulting the inner Christ before making decrees, as you practice speaking from unity rather than separation, your entire vibration shifts. You begin to radiate the very qualities you're seeking to manifest. Now, I want to go even deeper into the specific qualities that make a decree irresistible to the universe, because understanding the difference between words that merely float through the air and words that command reality requires mastering certain fundamental elements that most people completely overlook on their transformation journey. The most powerful tool in your spiritual arsenal is the sacred name, I am. Every time these two words leave your lips, you're invoking the very power of God within you. This isn't just ancient mysticism. This is practical spiritual technology that operates whether you're aware of it or not. When Moses asked God for his name at the burning bush, the response was profound. I am that I am. This revealed that existence itself, the creative force behind all reality, operates through these two simple words. Behind the scenes of every limitation in your life, you'll find unconscious I am statements that are creating exactly what you don't want. I am broke, I am lonely, I am sick, I'm stuck. Each of these declarations becomes a divine command that the universe has no choice but to fulfill. The hidden truth is that the universe doesn't judge whether your I am statement is positive or negative. It simply responds to the creative authority embedded in those words. But here's where this journey becomes truly transformative. When you consciously harness the power of I am and use it only to declare what you wish to manifest, you're literally programming reality according to your divine blueprint. I am abundant, I am healthy, I am loving, I am free. These become acts of creation, not wishful thinking. The key revelation that changes everything is understanding faith as substance, not just mental belief. Most people think faith is about convincing themselves to believe something despite evidence to the contrary. But true faith is a divine principle in action. It's the invisible substance that shapes matter and changes circumstances. Faith is actually the raw material from which your reality is constructed. When you decree with faith, you're not hoping something will happen. You're recognizing what already exists in the realm of spirit and giving it form in the physical world. This is why doubt is so destructive to manifestation, not because God gets offended, but because doubt introduces a conflicting vibration that disrupts the creative process. The impact of understanding faith as substance ripples through every decision you make. You stop living from what your physical senses tell you and start living from what divine intelligence reveals. You begin to act on inspiration even when logic can't explain why. You make moves that seem risky to others but feel like absolute certainty to you. Behind every miraculous transformation, every breakthrough that defied conventional wisdom, every impossible success story, you'll find someone who treated faith as substance rather than hope. They didn't wait for evidence to support their dreams. They provided the evidence through their unwavering faith and aligned action. This journey requires a fundamental shift in how you perceive reality itself. You start to see that the physical world is actually the world of effect, not cause. The real action happens in the realm of consciousness, in the invisible realm where faith shapes substance into form. Your job isn't to figure out how your desires will manifest. Your job is to decree with such faith-filled authority that the universe has no choice, but to rearrange itself accordingly. What makes this even more powerful is that faith builds upon itself. Each time you decree with genuine faith and see results, your confidence in the process grows. You develop what I call faith momentum, a building energy that makes your subsequent decrees even more powerful. You begin to surprise yourself with what you can create through conscious word power. The revelation continues to unfold as you practice. Faith isn't something you generate through effort. It's something you allow by aligning with divine truth. It's not about working up enough belief. It's about removing the blocks to recognizing what's already true in spirit. When you decree from this place of genuine faith, your words carry the vibration of certainty rather than hope. Now, I want to go even deeper into the practical applications of these principles, because knowing how to craft decrees that work in specific areas of your life, health, abundance, relationships, purpose, requires understanding certain formulas that amplify your creative power exponentially. And what I'm about to reveal about healing will completely transform how you approach any physical challenge in your body. The hidden truth about healing that most people miss is this: disease and discomfort are illusions created by temporary forgetfulness of God's perfection. They're not real in the spiritual sense. They're appearances that arise when we lose sight of our divine nature. This isn't about denying symptoms or ignoring medical care. It's about understanding the deeper truth that healing affirms the life that was never touched by illness. Behind the scenes of every miraculous healing, you'll find someone who shifted their focus from fighting disease to affirming perfect life. They stopped giving power to the symptoms and started recognizing the divine blueprint of health that exists in every cell of their being. This journey requires a fundamental shift in mindset, from seeing yourself as broken and needing fixing to recognizing yourself as whole and perfect in spirit. Here's the revelation that changes everything. By his wounds, you have been healed. Notice the past tense, not you will be healed or you might be healed, but you have been healed. This means healing is a spiritual fact already established, not something you need to conquer or achieve. Your wholeness already exists in the realm of spirit. The decree simply allows this truth to manifest in your physical experience. When you decree healing from this understanding, you're not trying to create something new. You're recognizing what already is. You're not battling illness. You're affirming life. You're not overcoming disease. You're revealing the perfection that was never truly touched by any temporary appearance of discord. The impact of this approach ripples through every aspect of your health journey. Instead of speaking about my disease or my condition, you begin to speak about perfect health expressing through me. Instead of focusing on symptoms, you focus on the divine life force flowing through every cell. Instead of fearing the future, you affirm present wholeness. This transformation in perspective creates what I call healing consciousness, a state of being where you see through the illusion of imperfection to the truth of divine perfection. From this consciousness, your decrees carry the vibration of certainty rather than hope, of truth rather than wishful thinking. But here's what makes this even more powerful. When you truly embrace this understanding, you stop being a victim of your body's apparent limitations and become an agent of divine healing. You realize that every cell in your body is listening to your consciousness, responding to your beliefs and manifesting according to your decrees. The journey into healing consciousness reveals layer after layer of truth about the relationship between mind, spirit, and matter. You begin to see patterns in your thoughts that may have contributed to physical discord. You develop awareness of how stress, resentment, fear, and other emotional states create disharmony in the body. Most importantly, you discover how to consciously direct healing life force through the power of your word. Behind every person who has experienced profound healing through spiritual means, you'll find someone who made this crucial shift in understanding. They stopped seeing themselves as victims of physical circumstances and started recognizing themselves as spiritual beings with authority over matter. They learned to speak to their bodies with love and divine authority, commanding every cell to align with perfect health. What's truly miraculous about this process is that it often works faster than conventional approaches because you're addressing the issue at its spiritual root rather than just managing symptoms. You're not fighting against illness. You're allowing divine perfection to express itself freely. The revelations continue to unfold as you practice healing decrees with this deeper understanding. You begin to notice how your body responds differently when you speak to it with love rather than fear, with faith rather than doubt, with recognition of its divine nature rather than condemnation of its apparent flaws. Now, I want to go even deeper into how this same principle applies to every area of your life, because the truth about abundance, relationships, and success follows the exact same spiritual pattern as healing, recognizing what already exists rather than trying to create something new. And what I'm about to reveal about prosperity will completely shatter every limiting belief you've ever held about money and abundance. Divine prosperity isn't about accumulating more things or manipulating external circumstances to bring you wealth. True prosperity is a state of consciousness, the deep conviction that God is your unwavering source and eternal provider. This journey into abundance consciousness requires a fundamental shift from seeing money as scarce and hard to come by to recognizing it as a natural expression of divine supply flowing endlessly through the universe. Behind the scenes of every person living in genuine abundance, you'll find someone who made this crucial mindset transformation. They stopped seeing themselves as limited by external circumstances and started recognizing themselves as expressions of infinite supply. They understood that poverty is not part of God's plan. It's a temporary experience created by consciousness that has forgotten its divine inheritance. Here's the revelation that changes everything about money. I have come that they may have life and that they may have it more abundantly. This promise isn't about spiritual abundance while remaining poor in the physical world. Abundant life includes every good thing: health, relationships, resources, opportunities, joy, peace, and yes, financial prosperity. The word abundantly means overflowing, more than enough, exceeding what you could ask or imagine. When you decree prosperity from this understanding, you're not trying to get something from the outside. You're recognizing the infinite supply that already exists in spirit and allowing it to manifest in your experience. You're not begging the universe for money. You're acknowledging your divine right to abundant resources as a child of the Most High. The impact of this consciousness shift ripples through every financial decision you make. Instead of operating from scarcity and fear, you begin to operate from abundance and trust. Instead of hoarding what you have, you give generously, knowing that giving opens the floodgates for more to flow. Instead of viewing money as the root of evil, you see it as a tool for good, a means to bless others and expand your positive impact in the world. This transformation in your relationship with money creates what I call prosperity magnetism, a natural, attracting force that draws opportunities, resources, and abundance into your life. When you truly believe in your heart that you are meant to prosper, when you decree abundance from divine truth rather than human lack, your entire energy field shifts to match that vibration. But here's what makes this even more powerful: understanding that your work, your business, your investments are not your source. God is your source. This recognition frees you from the anxiety and stress that comes from depending on external systems for your security. You begin to see money flowing through multiple channels, often in unexpected ways, because you're not limiting the infinite to work through just one avenue. The journey into prosperity consciousness reveals layer after layer of truth about how divine supply operates. You start to notice synchronicities. The right person shows up at the right time. Unexpected checks arrive in the mail. Brilliant ideas for increasing income suddenly download into your consciousness. These aren't coincidences. They're the natural result of aligning your mind with divine abundance. Behind every rags to riches story, every breakthrough business idea, every financial miracle, you'll find someone who shifted their consciousness about their relationship with money and supply. They stopped seeing themselves as victims of economic circumstances and started recognizing themselves as channels for divine prosperity. What's truly beautiful about this process is that as you develop prosperity consciousness, you naturally want to share your abundance with others. You become a blessing to everyone in your sphere of influence. Your success uplifts others rather than diminishing them, because you understand that there's more than enough in God's economy for everyone to prosper. The revelations continue to unfold as you practice prosperity decrees with this deeper understanding. You begin to see money as energy, as a means of exchange that allows for greater service and impact. You develop gratitude not just for what you receive, but for what you're able to give and how you can contribute to the prosperity of others. Now, I want to go even deeper into the quality that makes all these decrees truly irresistible to the universe, the element that transforms mere words into commands that reality has no choice but to obey. And what I'm about to reveal will completely revolutionize how you approach both giving and inner peace as fundamental components of powerful decreeing. Most people think the secret to manifestation lies in getting more, but the hidden truth is this: giving activates the very frequency of abundance you're trying to create. Give, and it will be given to you, good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. This isn't just moral teaching, it's a spiritual law as reliable as gravity. Every time you give joyfully, you're sending a clear message to the universe that you trust in infinite provision, that you know there's always more where that came from. Behind the scenes of every abundant life, you'll find someone who understands this paradox. The more you give, the more you receive. It's not about manipulating some cosmic accounting system. It's about aligning with the natural flow of divine energy. When you give from a place of love rather than lack, from abundance rather than fear, you create a vortex of circulation that draws even greater good into your experience. This journey of understanding transforms every act of giving into a spiritual practice, a decree in action. When you tip generously, you're decreeing abundance. When you donate to causes you believe in, you're decreeing your trust in divine supply. When you share your time, talents, and resources freely, you're decreeing that you live in a universe of infinite provision. But here's where this gets even deeper. True inner peace, which amplifies the power of every decree you make, comes from recognition of God as the only reality in your life, not from changing external circumstances. Most people exhaust themselves trying to rearrange the outside world to feel peaceful inside. They think if they can just get the right job, the right relationship, the right amount of money, then they'll finally have peace. The revelation that changes everything is this: peace is not dependent on external conditions. Inner peace is your natural state when you recognize that God is the only power, the only presence, the only reality operating in your life. This recognition creates an unshakable foundation from which your decrees emanate with unstoppable force. When you decree from this place of inner peace, your words carry a different vibration entirely. There's no desperation, no urgency, no fear driving your words. Instead, there's a calm certainty, a knowing that comes from being anchored in divine truth. This is why peaceful people often manifest so effortlessly. Their decrees aren't coming from stress or need, but from a place of serene recognition of what already is. The impact of developing this inner peace while practicing conscious giving creates what I call abundance magnetism in action. You become a living demonstration of prosperity consciousness. People are drawn to your energy because you radiate the peace that comes from knowing your source. Your very presence becomes a blessing, and your words carry the weight of authentic spiritual authority. Behind every person who manifests consistently and powerfully, you'll find someone who cultivated this combination of generous giving and unshakable inner peace. They developed the discipline to give even when it didn't make logical sense, trusting that the act of giving would create the very abundance they sought. They also learned to maintain peace regardless of temporary appearances, knowing that external circumstances are always changing, but divine truth remains constant. This journey reveals a beautiful paradox. The more you give without attachment to return, the more returns to you in unexpected ways. The more you rest in inner peace, regardless of outer chaos, the more your external world begins to reflect that inner harmony. It's as if the universe responds to your demonstration of faith by providing even more reasons to have faith. What makes this even more transformative is understanding that giving and inner peace work together synergistically. Peace allows you to give freely without fear of loss. Giving from peace ensures you're not giving from ego or manipulation, but from genuine love. Together, they create an unstoppable combination that makes your decrees irresistible to the universe. The revelations continue to unfold as you practice this integration. You begin to see that every act of giving is also a gift to yourself. Every moment of peace is also a gift to the world. You start to understand that prosperity and inner peace aren't separate goals. They're different expressions of the same spiritual truth. Now, I want to go even deeper into the practical mastery of this divine technology, because understanding how to maintain this consciousness consistently, especially during challenging times, requires developing certain spiritual disciplines that separate occasional manifestors from consistent creators. And what I'm about to reveal about peace and love will give you the keys to unshakable power in your decrees. The peace that makes your decrees irresistible is not ordinary human peace that depends on everything going your way. This is the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding. A peace that needs no reasons to exist, no favorable circumstances to maintain itself. This peace literally guards your heart and mind, creating an inner sanctuary from which you can decree with absolute authority, regardless of what's happening in the outer world. Behind the scenes of every person who maintains powerful decreeing ability through life's storms, you'll find someone who discovered this transcendent peace. They learned that peace isn't something you achieve by controlling external circumstances. It's something you access by recognizing the divine presence that remains constant within you, no matter what appears to be happening around you. This journey to transcendent peace transforms your entire relationship with challenge and adversity. Instead of seeing difficult times as obstacles to manifestation, you begin to see them as opportunities to demonstrate the unshakable nature of divine truth. When you can decree abundance while facing financial pressure, when you can affirm health while dealing with symptoms, when you can declare love while experiencing conflict, that's when your words carry maximum creative power. But here's the deepest revelation that will completely revolutionize your understanding of decreeing. God doesn't just have love, God is love in its purest, infinite essence. This isn't poetic language, it's the fundamental truth about the nature of reality itself. Every decree that aligns with love aligns with the very essence of God, and therefore carries irresistible creative power. When you decree from love rather than lack, from appreciation rather than desperation, from blessing rather than complaint, you're speaking the native language of the universe. Love is the creative force that brought everything into existence, and love is what sustains and transforms everything that exists. The impact of this realization ripples through every area of your life. Your decrees about health become infused with love for your body rather than frustration with illness. Your affirmations about abundance flow from gratitude for what you already have, rather than resentment about what you lack. Your declarations about relationships emanate from appreciation for connection, rather than fear of loneliness. This transformation creates what I call love-powered manifestation, a way of decreeing that feels natural, joyful, and effortless, because you're working with the fundamental creative force rather than against it. When love motivates your decrees, they carry a vibration that melts resistance and opens pathways for miracles to unfold. Behind every truly miraculous manifestation, every healing that defied medical explanation, every breakthrough that seemed impossible, you'll find someone who discovered how to decree from pure love. They stopped trying to manipulate reality through desperation and started allowing reality to transform through divine love, expressing itself through their words. What makes this even more powerful is understanding that love and peace work together to create an unbreachable foundation for manifestation. Peace keeps you centered in divine truth, regardless of appearances. Love ensures your decrees are aligned with the highest good for all involved. Together, they create a consciousness from which failure is literally impossible. The journey into love-powered, peace-anchored decreeing reveals layer after layer of truth about how consciousness creates reality. You begin to notice that when you decree from genuine love and transcendent peace, synchronicities multiply, opportunities appear, and people are naturally drawn to support your vision. It's as if the entire universe conspires to fulfill decrees that arise from this divine frequency. This is why some people seem to manifest effortlessly while others struggle. Despite knowing all the techniques, it's not about the words you use or the visualization methods you practice. It's about the consciousness from which you speak. When your decrees flow from the peace that surpasses understanding and the love that is God, they become commands that reality has no choice but to honor. The revelations continue to unfold as you practice this deeper approach. You discover that maintaining this consciousness isn't about perfect circumstances, but about regular connection with the divine source within you. You develop what I call spiritual resilience, the ability to return to love and peace quickly, no matter what temporary challenges arise. Now, I want to go even deeper into how to develop and maintain this consciousness daily. Because creating lasting transformation requires building spiritual habits that keep you connected to this divine frequency even when life gets busy, chaotic, or challenging. And what I'm about to reveal about unity and spiritual protection will show you how to create a protective field around your decreeing practice that makes it virtually indestructible. Understanding unity in relationships becomes crucial to powerful decreeing because all true love begins in consciousness of unity. Christ in me, Christ in you, Christ in all. This isn't just a beautiful spiritual concept, it's a practical truth that transforms how you decree for yourself and others. When you recognize the divine spark in everyone, your decrees take on a completely different quality and power. Behind the scenes of every harmonious relationship, every healed conflict, every loving partnership, you'll find someone who discovered this secret of unity consciousness. They stopped seeing others as separate beings who might help or hinder their manifestations and started recognizing them as fellow expressions of the divine with whom they could co-create miracles. This journey into unity consciousness revolutionizes how you decree about relationships. Instead of trying to control or change others through your words, you begin to decree the highest good for all involved, trusting that when divine love is the motivating force, everyone benefits. Instead of seeing conflicts as obstacles, you see them as opportunities to practice decreeing unity where division seems to exist. But here's where the hidden truth gets even more powerful. The angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear him. This divine protection isn't just about physical safety, it extends to protecting your consciousness, your decrees, and your manifestations from interference. When you maintain reverence for the divine power you're working with, when you decree with proper spiritual humility, you create a protective field around your practice that shields it from negative influences. The word fear here doesn't mean terror or anxiety. It means profound reverence, respect, and awe for the sacred power you're handling. When you approach decreeing with this spiritual reverence, recognizing that you're working with the very creative force of the universe, you automatically create a protective barrier around your practice. This protection manifests in multiple ways on your transformation journey. Doubt doesn't penetrate as easily. Negative influences don't derail your progress. Circumstances that might normally discourage you seem to resolve themselves before they can affect your consciousness. It's as if invisible forces are working behind the scenes to ensure your decreeing practice remains pure and powerful. The impact of understanding this spiritual protection extends into every area of your life. Your decrees about health remain strong even when others around you focus on illness. Your affirmations of abundance stay powerful even in economically challenging times. Your declarations of peace hold firm even when chaos surrounds you. Behind every person who maintains consistent manifestation power year after year, you'll find someone who discovered how to create and maintain this protective consciousness. They learned that decreeing isn't just about speaking words into the air. It's about creating a sacred space in consciousness where divine truth can operate without interference. This journey reveals that spiritual protection and unity consciousness work together synergistically. When you decree from unity, recognizing the divine in all beings, you're less likely to create resistance or opposition to your manifestations. When you maintain proper reverence for the power you're working with, you naturally attract divine protection that keeps your practice pure and effective. What makes this even more transformative is understanding that this protection isn't passive, it's active. You can consciously invoke this spiritual covering before you decree, asking for divine protection over your words, your consciousness, and your manifestations. You can create what I call sacred space for your decreeing practice, a mental and spiritual environment where only truth can flourish. The revelations continue to unfold as you practice this protected, unified consciousness. You begin to notice that your decrees not only manifest for you, but create a blessing field that benefits everyone in your sphere of influence. Your practice of declaring divine truth creates ripples of positive change that extend far beyond your personal experience. This is why some people's manifestations seem to flow effortlessly, while others hit resistance at every turn. It's not just about the technique or the words, it's about the consciousness of protection and unity from which they decree. When you speak from this place of spiritual safety and divine recognition, your words carry the authority of heaven itself. Now, I want to go even deeper into how to establish and maintain these protective spiritual practices, because creating a daily routine that keeps you connected to this divine frequency requires understanding certain principles that most spiritual seekers overlook in their journey toward consistent manifestation power. And what I'm about to reveal about divine guidance and perfect work will show you how to live your entire life as a continuous prayer of manifestation. The hidden truth about guidance is that God's word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. But this isn't referring to external scripture alone. True guidance comes from within through the inner Christ, that divine intelligence that knows exactly what decisions to make, what actions to take, and what words to decree for maximum effectiveness in your life. This inner guidance system is always functioning. Most people just haven't learned how to tune in and trust it. Behind the scenes of every person who seems to make all the right moves, who always knows what to say and when to say it, you'll find someone who developed this connection to inner divine guidance. They learn to pause before making important decisions, to check in with their inner wisdom before speaking significant decrees, to allow divine intelligence to guide both their words and their actions. This journey into guided living transforms your entire approach to manifestation. Instead of desperately trying to figure out the right words to say or the perfect technique to use, you begin to trust that divine intelligence will guide you to the exact decrees needed in each moment. Instead of forcing outcomes through sheer willpower, you allow inspired action to flow naturally from inner guidance. But here's where this gets even more powerful. When you approach your work, whatever that work may be, as worship, something miraculous happens. When you work as for the Lord, your activity becomes an act of worship filled with light, effectiveness, and joy. This isn't just about doing your job better. It's about transforming every task into a sacred act of creation and service. The impact of this transformation ripples through every aspect of your daily life. Your work becomes a continuous opportunity to practice divine principles. Your interactions with colleagues and clients become chances to demonstrate love in action. Your challenges at work become opportunities to decree divine solutions and watch them manifest. This approach creates what I call sanctified productivity, a way of working that feels effortless because you're aligned with divine purpose rather than fighting against it. When you decree over your work projects, bless your business ventures, and invite divine intelligence into your professional decisions, you tap into a source of creativity and effectiveness that goes far beyond human capability. Behind every highly successful, joyful, purpose-driven professional, you'll find someone who discovered this secret of working as divine worship. They stopped separating their spiritual life from their work life and started seeing every task as an opportunity to express divine qualities: love, wisdom, creativity, abundance, and service. What makes this even more transformative is understanding that this guidance and sacred work approach creates a feedback loop of blessing. As you tune in to divine guidance throughout your day, you become more sensitive to the inner promptings about what to decree and when. As you work with divine consciousness, your professional success provides more resources and influence to live and share these principles. The revelations continue to unfold as you practice this integrated approach. You begin to notice that guidance comes not just in quiet meditation moments, but throughout your active day, in conversations, through sudden insights, via unexpected opportunities. You discover that every conversation can include subtle decrees, Every project can be blessed, every challenge can be met with divine wisdom. This journey reveals that there's no separation between your spiritual practice and your daily life. Every decision is a spiritual decision. Every word spoken at work is either a decree of limitation or a decree of divine truth. Every interaction is an opportunity to demonstrate the principles you're learning. The beautiful paradox is that the more you integrate these principles into your work life, the more your work serves your spiritual growth. Professional challenges become spiritual lessons. Workplace relationships become opportunities to practice unity consciousness. Your success becomes a platform for sharing and demonstrating divine principles. This is why some people seem to manifest effortlessly while juggling busy professional lives. They've learned to make their entire existence a living prayer, a continuous practice of divine decreeing. They don't wait for perfect spiritual moments. They create sacred space in ordinary moments. Now, I want to go even deeper into how these principles create a compound effect over time, because understanding the long-term impact of consistent decreeing practice reveals why some people experience quantum leaps in their manifestation abilities, while others see only gradual change. And what I'm about to reveal about divine rest and joy will show you the secret to maintaining sustainable transformation without burnout or spiritual exhaustion. Divine rest isn't what most people think it is. True rest doesn't come from physical leisure or taking breaks from work. It comes from trusting completely in God and releasing anxieties to the Christ within. This is the kind of rest that refreshes your soul even in the midst of intense activity. The rest that keeps your decreeing practice powerful even when life gets demanding and overwhelming. Behind the scenes of every person who maintains consistent manifestation power over years and decades, you'll find someone who discovered this secret of divine rest. They learned that you can work intensely, create abundantly, serve passionately, and still remain in a state of inner rest because you're not carrying the weight of outcomes on your shoulders. You're trusting divine intelligence to handle the details. This journey into divine rest transforms your entire relationship with effort and manifestation. Instead of striving to make your decrees work through sheer determination, you learn to release them into divine care and rest in the knowing that they're already working. Instead of anxiously monitoring every sign of progress, you decree and then rest in faith, allowing the universe to orchestrate the perfect unfolding. But here's the revelation that changes everything about sustainable spiritual practice. The joy of the Lord is your strength. This isn't just encouragement. It's a practical principle for maintaining long-term manifestation power. True life in God is joy, not sadness, not struggle, not constant effort. When you approach decreeing with genuine joy, you tap into a renewable source of energy that can sustain your practice indefinitely. The impact of this understanding creates what I call joyful manifestation, a way of decreeing that feels more like play than work, more like celebration than labor. When joy motivates your practice, you don't burn out from spiritual disciplines because they're feeding your soul rather than draining your energy. When you decree with joy, you're aligning with the very nature of divine creation, which is inherently joyful and abundant. Behind every person who seems to manifest effortlessly year after year, you'll find someone who discovered how to maintain this joy-filled approach to spiritual practice. They don't see decreeing as another obligation on their to-do list, but as a delightful opportunity to dance with divine creative force. They approach manifestation with enthusiasm rather than desperation, with excitement rather than anxiety. What makes this even more transformative is understanding that divine rest and spiritual joy work together to create an unshakable foundation for long-term success. Rest keeps you from burning out when results don't come as quickly as you'd like. Joy keeps you engaged and enthusiastic even during challenging periods. Together, they create a sustainable approach that allows you to practice these principles for a lifetime. The revelations continue to unfold as you embrace this joyful, restful approach. You begin to notice that when you're truly resting in God, while decreeing with joy, manifestations often come more quickly and easily than when you were striving and struggling. It's as if the universe responds more readily to decrees that carry the vibration of trust and joy rather than effort and anxiety. This journey reveals a beautiful paradox. The less you try to force your decrees to work and the more you rest in divine timing, the more powerfully they manifest. The more joy you bring to your spiritual practice, the more strength and clarity you have for consistent application. The lighter your approach, the deeper your results. Behind every quantum leap in manifestation ability, you'll find someone who shifted from effortful striving to joyful resting in divine truth. They stopped treating their spiritual practice like a job that required constant monitoring and started treating it like a celebration of divine partnership. They found the sweet spot between active decreeing and passive trusting. This is why some people seem to maintain their manifestation abilities through all of life's seasons: prosperity and challenge, youth and age, busy periods and quiet times. They've learned to practice from a place of divine rest and spiritual joy that isn't dependent on external circumstances or immediate results. The hidden truth is that sustainable transformation requires this balance of joyful engagement and trusting rest. You can't maintain powerful decreeing through willpower alone. You need the renewable energy that comes from joy and the unshakable foundation that comes from divine rest. Now, I want to go even deeper into how to integrate all these principles into a cohesive daily practice that creates unstoppable momentum in your spiritual growth and manifestation abilities, because the real magic happens when all these elements work together in perfect harmony. And what I'm about to reveal about service and humility will show you how to amplify your decreeing power exponentially while staying grounded in divine truth. Service as greatness isn't just a nice spiritual concept. It's a practical principle that multiplies the power of your decrees. The greatest among you will be your servant. This means true greatness, true power, true manifestation ability is measured by your ability to serve with love. When you decree not just for your own benefit, but for the highest good of all, when you use your creative word power to bless others as well as yourself, something remarkable happens to the force behind your words. Behind the scenes of every truly powerful manifester, you'll find someone who understood this fundamental principle. The more you use your decreeing ability to serve others, the more that ability grows and strengthens. When you declare healing for a friend, abundance for your family, peace for your community, you're not depleting your manifestation power, you're expanding it. This journey into service-based decreeing transforms your entire understanding of spiritual power. Instead of hoarding your knowledge of these principles or using them solely for personal gain, you begin to see yourself as a channel for divine blessing. In the world, instead of decreeing in isolation, you start creating circles of conscious manifestation with others, multiplying the power of everyone involved. But here's where the hidden truth gets even deeper. Humility is not thinking less of yourself. It's recognizing that all good comes from God, understanding that you are a channel through which divine glory flows. This proper humility actually increases your manifestation power because it removes the resistance that ego-driven decreeing often creates. The impact of approaching your practice with genuine humility is profound. When you decree from the understanding that you're a vessel for divine expression rather than the source of power itself, your words carry a different authority. There's no arrogance to create resistance, no pride to block the flow, no ego to distort the message. There's just pure divine truth flowing through a willing and conscious channel. Behind every miracle, every impossible manifestation, every life that truly transforms and blesses others, you'll find someone who mastered this balance of service and humility. They learned to wield incredible creative power while remaining completely surrendered to divine will. They discovered that the more humbly they served, the greater their ability to manifest became. This journey reveals that service and humility work together synergistically to create what I call power with purpose. When you serve others through your decreeing practice, you align with divine will naturally. When you approach this power with genuine humility, you become a clearer channel for its expression. Together, they create a manifestation ability that seems to have no limits because it's not constrained by personal ego or selfish desires. What makes this even more transformative is understanding that this service-based, humble approach to decreeing creates a multiplication effect. Every person you help, every life you bless, every positive change you create through your words becomes a witness to divine power working through you. This creates an expanding field of good that continues to grow and bless others long after your initial decree. The revelations continue to unfold as you embrace this servant-leader approach to manifestation. You begin to notice that the more you focus on being of service, the more your own needs are met effortlessly. The more humbly you acknowledge the source of your power, the more freely it flows through you. The more you use your abilities to bless others, the more those abilities are multiplied back to you. This is why some people's manifestation abilities seem to grow stronger over time, while others plateau or even diminish. Those who grow are the ones who learn to serve through their practice and maintain proper humility about the source of their power. They understand that they're not the creators, but the channels, not the source, but the vessels. Behind every sustainable spiritual movement, every lasting, positive change in the world, you'll find leaders who embodied this principle. They used their power to lift others, their knowledge to serve others, their abilities to bless others. In doing so, they became conduits for divine power that transformed not just their own lives, but countless lives around them. The beautiful paradox is that the more you give away this power through service, the more it multiplies within you. The more humbly you acknowledge God as the source, the more freely that divine power expresses through you. The more you focus on serving others' highest good, the more your own highest good manifests effortlessly. Now, I want to go even deeper into the ultimate expression of these principles, because there comes a moment in every sincere practitioner's journey when all these elements converge into what can only be described as living in continuous miracle consciousness. And what I'm about to reveal about abundant life and breaking the scarcity mindset will show you how to step into the fullness of what God intended for you from the very beginning. God's purpose for you is abundant life in all forms: health, love, peace, provision, joy, fulfillment, purpose, connection. This isn't some distant promise for the afterlife or something you need to earn through suffering. Abundant life now is your birthright, your natural state, the very reason you were created. Every moment you accept less than this, you're actually rejecting what your Creator designed. Specifically for you, behind the scenes of every person living in genuine abundance, not just financial wealth, but true fullness of life, you'll find someone who made a crucial decision. They decided to stop accepting scarcity as normal and start claiming abundance as their divine right. They broke through the programming that says you have to struggle, sacrifice, and suffer to deserve good in your life. This journey into abundant life consciousness requires a fundamental shift in how you view yourself in relation to the universe. Instead of seeing yourself as someone who must fight for limited resources, you begin to recognize yourself as a beloved child of an inexhaustibly abundant Creator. Instead of believing you must earn your good, you understand that abundance flows naturally when you align with divine truth. But here's the revelation that transforms everything. Abundance manifests when you break old beliefs of lack and claim your divine right through conscious decree. This isn't about positive thinking or forced optimism. It's about recognizing what was always true and finally giving yourself permission to live it. Every decree of abundance is actually a decree of truth, an acknowledgement of what God created as your natural state. The impact of this recognition ripples through every area of your existence. Your health improves because you stop accepting illness as inevitable and start decreeing divine life flowing through every cell. Your relationships flourish because you stop accepting loneliness or conflict as normal and start declaring divine love, expressing through all your connections. Your finances expand because you stop believing in lack and start affirming the infinite supply that is your heritage. Breaking the scarcity mindset isn't just about changing your thoughts, it's about changing your entire identity. Behind every limitation you've experienced, you'll find a belief that says, "This is just the way life is," or "I don't deserve better," or "There's not enough to go around." These beliefs create invisible cages that keep you trapped in less than what God intended. This transformation creates what I call abundance consciousness, a way of being in the world where you expect good, attract good, and create good effortlessly because you're aligned with the fundamental nature of divine creation. When you live from abundance consciousness, your decreeing takes on a completely different quality because you're not trying to get something you don't have. You're simply allowing what you already are to express itself fully. The journey into this consciousness reveals layer after layer of conditioned limitation that must be consciously released. Family beliefs about money, religious teachings about unworthiness, cultural programming about struggle and sacrifice, all of these invisible chains must be broken through conscious decree and recognized truth. Each chain you break frees not just you, but everyone in your sphere of influence. Behind every person who seems to effortlessly manifest abundance in all areas of life, you'll find someone who did the often challenging work of dismantling their scarcity programming. They faced their limiting beliefs head-on, questioned every thought that suggested they couldn't have it all, and consistently chose to decree abundance even when circumstances seemed to contradict their words. What makes this even more powerful is understanding that abundance is holistic. It rarely manifests in just one area when you truly embrace this consciousness. People who decree abundance consciousness don't just get rich, they get healthy, loved, peaceful, fulfilled and purposeful all at once, because they're aligning with the total good that God intended for their lives. The revelations continue to unfold as you practice this fullness of claiming. You begin to see that scarcity was never real. It was just a mass hypnosis that humanity agreed to participate in. You discover that every time you choose abundance over lack, love over fear, truth over illusion, you're not just transforming your own life, but contributing to the awakening of collective consciousness. This is why some people seem to live in a completely different reality than others. They literally are living in a different reality because they've accepted the truth of divine abundance as their operating system. They've broken free from the collective dream of limitation and stepped into the reality of infinite possibility that was always available. Now, I want to go even deeper into how this consciousness becomes not just a practice, but a way of being that transforms everything it touches. Because when abundance consciousness becomes your natural state, rather than something you work to achieve, miracles become your everyday experience. And what I'm about to reveal about the power of binding and loosing will give you the ultimate key to total spiritual liberation. Whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. This isn't just a beautiful theological statement, it's the most practical spiritual technology ever given to humanity. You literally have the divine power to decree your freedom or slavery, your limitation or liberation, your bondage or blessing through the conscious use of your word. Behind the scenes of every person who lives in true freedom, psychological, spiritual, emotional, and physical, you'll find someone who discovered this principle of binding and loosing. They learned that they could consciously bind themselves to truth, love, abundance, health, and peace, while simultaneously loosing themselves from everything that contradicted these divine realities. This journey into total liberation reveals that most people unknowingly bind themselves to limitation through habitual speech patterns and unconscious decreeing. When you say, "I'm always broke," you're binding yourself to poverty. When you declare, "I never get what I want," you're binding yourself to disappointment. When you announce, "I'm just not the type who succeeds," you're binding yourself to failure. But here's the life-changing revelation. You can consciously reverse this process. You have the divine authority to bind yourself to truth and loose everything contrary to light. Every time you decree, "I am abundantly provided for," you bind yourself to divine supply. Every time you declare, "I am worthy of love," you bind yourself to beautiful relationships. Every time you affirm, "I am free from all limitation," you loose yourself from invisible chains. The impact of understanding this binding and loosing principle transforms your entire approach to personal transformation. Instead of trying to fight against negative conditions or struggle to overcome limitations, you simply bind yourself to the opposite truth and loose yourself from the false appearance. Instead of battling shadows, you choose light and watch the shadows dissolve. Naturally, this creates what I call liberation consciousness, a state of being where you're constantly aware of your power to bind and loose, constantly choosing what you will accept in your experience and what you will release. Every moment becomes an opportunity to exercise this divine authority. Every challenge becomes a chance to decree your freedom. Behind every dramatic transformation, every sudden breakthrough, every miraculous change in circumstances, you'll find someone who utilized this principle of conscious binding and loosing. They didn't wait for external circumstances to change. They used their divine authority to bind themselves to new truth and loose themselves from old limitations. What makes this even more powerful is understanding that this binding and loosing happens automatically through your daily speech and thought patterns. You're always binding and loosing something. The question is whether you're doing it consciously in alignment with divine truth or unconsciously in alignment with limitation and fear. The journey into mastering this principle reveals that total liberation isn't a destination you reach. It's a consciousness you practice moment by moment. Every time you catch yourself about to speak limitation, you can choose instead to bind yourself to truth. Every time you notice fear trying to grip your mind, you can loose yourself from its influence and bind yourself to divine peace. This revelation transforms how you handle every challenge, every setback, every apparent obstacle in your life. Instead of accepting these as permanent realities, you see them as temporary appearances that can be changed through conscious binding and loosing. Instead of feeling powerless against circumstances, you exercise your divine authority to decree what will and will not have power in your experience. Behind every person who seems untouchable by life's storms, who maintains peace in chaos and abundance in apparent lack, you'll find someone who mastered this art of binding and loosing. They've made it such a natural part of their consciousness that they automatically bind themselves to good and loose themselves from anything that contradicts divine truth. The beauty of this practice is that it compounds over time. Each conscious choice to bind yourself to truth strengthens your awareness of your divine authority. Each decision to loose yourself from limitation increases your freedom to experience the fullness of life. Each decree of binding and loosing builds momentum toward total liberation. This is why some people seem to live in constant breakthrough, while others remain stuck in patterns of limitation. Those in constant breakthrough understand that every moment offers the opportunity to bind themselves to something greater and loose themselves from something lesser. They've made liberation an ongoing practice rather than a one-time achievement. Now, I want to go even deeper into how this ultimate spiritual Technology integrates with everything we've discussed, because when you master the art of conscious binding and loosing while maintaining all the other principles we've covered, you step into what can only be described as living as a co-creator with the divine. And what I'm about to reveal about freedom from the past and human judgment will show you how to live in complete liberation right now, regardless of what has happened before or what others think of you. The hidden truth about the past is this: you don't have to bind yourself to painful memories, regrets, or limiting experiences. You can release them with decrees as easily as you would release useless weight from your path. Most people carry invisible chains forged from past experiences, dragging these heavy burdens into every new day, every fresh opportunity, every potential miracle. Behind the scenes of every person who seems to live with complete freedom and authenticity, you'll find someone who learned this crucial principle. The past only has the power over your present that you give it through your consciousness and your words. When you continue to speak about past failures, past hurts, past limitations, as if they define you, you're binding yourself to those experiences and loosing yourself from the freedom to create something entirely new. This journey into freedom from the past transforms your entire relationship with time and possibility. Instead of letting yesterday's experiences dictate today's reality, you begin each moment fresh, untethered from what was, completely available to what could be. Instead of carrying resentment as a badge of honor or using past wounds as excuses for present limitations, you loose yourself from these anchors and bind yourself to the infinite potential of the eternal now. But here's the even deeper revelation. You don't have to accept human judgments or condemnations about who you are or what you can achieve. Your only bond is to God's love, walking in the glorious freedom of divine acceptance. How many people are living small, limited lives because they're bound to what others have said about them? How many brilliant minds are silenced because they accepted someone else's assessment of their worth? The impact of rejecting human bondage while embracing divine love creates what I call unshakable authenticity, a way of being in the world where you're completely free to express your true nature regardless of external opinions. When you bind yourself only to God's truth about you and loose yourself from every human limitation placed upon you, you step into a freedom that most people can't even imagine. This transformation reveals that most of human suffering comes not from circumstances, but from the stories we tell ourselves about those circumstances, the meanings we assign based on past experiences, the identities we accept based on others' opinions. When you learn to consciously choose which stories you'll bind yourself to and which ones you'll release, you become the author of your own life rather than a victim of your history. Behind every person who seems to live with boundless confidence, who appears untouchable by criticism or unimpressed by past failures, you'll find someone who mastered this art of selective binding. They choose carefully what they will make real in their experience through their attention and their words. They refuse to give power to anything that doesn't align with divine truth about their nature and potential. What makes this even more liberating is understanding that freedom from the past and human judgment work together synergistically. When you're no longer bound to what happened before, you're not afraid of what others might say about your choices now. When you're not concerned with human approval, you're free to make decisions based on divine guidance, rather than fear of how you'll be perceived. The journey into this total freedom reveals layer after layer of invisible programming that has been limiting your expression. Family expectations that said you had to be a certain way, educational systems that told you what you could or couldn't accomplish, society's messages about your gender, age, background, or circumstances, religious teachings that emphasized your unworthiness rather than your divine nature. This revelation transforms how you move through the world, how you make decisions, how you respond to setbacks and challenges. Instead of filtering everything through the lens of past experience or potential human judgment. You respond from the fresh space of infinite possibility. Instead of asking, "What will people think?" or "What if I fail like before?" you ask, "What would divine love do here?" Behind every revolutionary, every innovator, every person who changed the world in some way, you'll find someone who refused to be bound by human limitations or past precedents. They bound themselves to divine truth and possibility, loosed themselves from conventional thinking and historical patterns, and allowed something entirely new to emerge through them. The beautiful paradox is that the more you free yourself from the past and human judgment, the more you become authentically yourself, the person God created you to be before the world told you who you should become. The more you release what was, the more available you become to what could be. Now, I want to go even deeper into how this complete liberation creates a ripple effect that touches every life you encounter, because when you live in total freedom, you become a living invitation for others to step into their own liberation. And what I'm about to reveal about practical application and unwavering faith will give you the tools to make this transformation real and lasting in your daily experience. The key to making these principles work consistently lies in practical application, knowing exactly what to decree and how to decree it. Instead of focusing on problems, instead of giving energy to what's wrong, you learn to decree specific positive statements for health, prosperity, peace, protection, and guidance. This shift from problem-focused thinking to solution-focused decreeing creates an immediate transformation in your experience. Behind the scenes of every person whose decrees seem to manifest effortlessly, you'll find someone who mastered this art of specific, positive declaration. They don't waste time analyzing their problems or explaining why things are difficult. They go straight to decreeing what they want to see manifested, speaking as if it's already true, creating detailed word pictures of their desired reality. This journey into practical decreeing transforms your daily language patterns completely. Instead of saying, "I hope this illness goes away," you declare, "I am perfect health manifesting now." Instead of worrying, "I don't know how I'll pay these bills," you decree, "My provision flows abundantly and all my needs are met." Instead of complaining about relationship problems, you affirm, "Divine love flows through all my relationships, bringing harmony and joy." But here's the crucial element that makes the difference between decrees that work and those that fall flat: faith without doubt. Your decrees must come from a steady heart, free of hesitation, because doubt breaks the decree and paralyzes creative power. This isn't about forcing yourself to believe. It's about recognizing what's already true in spirit and speaking from that recognition. The impact of decreeing with unwavering faith creates what I call decree authority, a quality in your voice and consciousness that commands attention from the universe itself. When doubt creeps in, it's like static on a radio frequency, disrupting the clear transmission of your creative word. When faith is absolute, your decrees cut through like a laser, precise and powerful. Behind every miraculous manifestation, every rapid healing, every sudden breakthrough in circumstances, you'll find someone who spoke their decree with such faith that doubt never had a chance to take root. They understood that doubt isn't just negative thinking. It's actually a contrary decree that cancels out the positive declaration you're trying to make. This transformation reveals that the quality of your faith is more important than the eloquence of your words or the complexity of your technique. A simple decree spoken with absolute faith will manifest faster than an elaborate affirmation spoken with hesitation. The universe responds not to your vocabulary, but to your conviction. What makes this even more powerful is understanding that faith builds upon itself through practice. Each time you see a decree manifest, your confidence in the process grows. Each success creates momentum for greater faith in future decrees. This is why starting with smaller, easier-to-believe declarations can build the foundation for manifesting larger miracles. The journey into unwavering faith reveals that doubt often comes from focusing on past failures, current circumstances, or logical impossibilities. But true spiritual faith operates beyond the realm of logic. It functions in the realm of divine possibility, where all things are available to those who believe without wavering. Behind every person who seems to manifest consistently across all areas of life, you'll find someone who developed what I call practical faith, the ability to speak with conviction about things not yet seen in the physical world. They learn to distinguish between hope, which still contains doubt, and faith, which contains only certainty. This practical application of faithful decreeing creates a compound effect in your life. As you see small decrees manifest, you gain confidence to speak bigger truths. As you experience the power of specific declarations, you become more precise in your word choices. As you maintain faith without doubt, you develop an unwavering authority that makes your decrees increasingly irresistible. The revelations continue to unfold as you practice this combination of specific declaring and absolute faith. You begin to notice that the universe responds to consistency. Regular daily decrees spoken with faith create more dramatic results than sporadic declarations made in desperation. You discover that timing matters less than persistence when your decrees are backed by unwavering faith. This is why some people seem to live in a different reality, where their words carry weight, and their declarations become truth rapidly. They've mastered the art of speaking specifically about what they want while maintaining complete faith in their authority to decree it into existence. Now, I want to go even deeper into how to maintain this level of faith and specificity even when facing challenges that seem to contradict your decrees, because it's during these testing times that your real spiritual power is developed and demonstrated. And what I'm about to reveal about daily practice and universal response will show you how to create an unbreakable momentum that carries you through any obstacle toward your divine destiny. The secret to unshakable spiritual power lies in making your life a continuous affirmative prayer, a symphony of I am statements, lifting your existence to its highest splendor. This isn't about setting aside special times for spiritual practice. It's about transforming every moment, every conversation, every thought into an opportunity for divine decree. When you wake up in the morning, your first thoughts are decrees. When you're stuck in traffic, you're affirming divine order. When you're preparing meals, you're blessing abundance. Behind the scenes of every person who seems to live in perpetual blessing, who navigates life's challenges with grace and comes out stronger from every difficulty, you'll find someone who made decreeing not just a practice, but a way of life. They understand that consistency in small moments creates power in big moments. They've trained themselves to default to divine truth rather than human worry when faced with any situation. This journey into continuous decreeing transforms your entire relationship with time and experience. Instead of compartmentalizing spirituality into Sunday mornings or meditation periods, you begin to see every moment as sacred, every word as creative, every thought as a potential decree. Your daily conversations become infused with life-giving affirmations. Your private thoughts automatically align with divine truth. But here's the mind-blowing revelation that changes everything. When you decree with genuine faith, the entire universe, angels, powers, elements, cosmic forces, responds to the vibration of your word. You're not just speaking into empty space, you're commanding reality itself. Every sincere decree sets in motion invisible forces that work tirelessly to bring your words into manifestation. The impact of understanding this universal response creates what I call cosmic cooperation, a realization that you're not working alone in your manifestation efforts. The very fabric of creation is designed to respond to words spoken in faith from divine authority. Wind, water, circumstances, people, opportunities, all become allies in manifesting what you've decreed. Behind every seemingly miraculous manifestation, every perfect timing of events, every synchronicity that seems too good to be coincidence, you'll find someone who recognized and activated this principle of universal response. They learned to speak as if all of creation was listening, because it is. They discovered that their words carry vibrations that ripple through dimensions, setting in motion forces far beyond human comprehension. This transformation reveals that you're not just a person trying to improve your life, you're a co-creator with the universe itself, speaking divine truth that reality has no choice but to reflect. When you decree health, every cell in your body responds. When you declare abundance, financial forces align in your favor. When you affirm love, people and situations orchestrate to bring you exactly what you've spoken. What makes this even more extraordinary is understanding that the kingdom of God is not a distant future but a present reality. Christ has already set you free to live abundantly here and now. You don't have to wait for heaven to experience divine life. You don't have to postpone miracles until you're more worthy. The fullness of divine kingdom life is available to you right now, activated through your conscious decree. The journey into present kingdom living reveals that most people are living beneath their privileges, accepting less than what's already been provided for them. They're waiting for permission to be abundant when abundance is their birthright. They're hoping for healing when wholeness is their natural state. They're seeking love when they're surrounded by divine love, expressing through everything. Behind every person who seems to live in a different reality, who experiences constant miracles, who attracts good effortlessly, you'll find someone who stepped into present kingdom consciousness. They stopped postponing their divine life and started claiming it now. They recognized that every decree is simply an acknowledgement of what already exists in the spiritual realm. This understanding creates a complete shift in how you approach challenges, setbacks, and apparent contradictions to your decrees. Instead of seeing these as evidence that your words don't work, you see them as temporary illusions that dissolve in the light of persistent decree. Instead of doubting your authority when results seem delayed, you intensify your practice knowing that universal forces are aligning behind your words. The revelations continue to unfold as you embrace this kingdom now consciousness. You begin to see that delay doesn't mean denial. It often means divine timing. You discover that obstacles aren't punishments but opportunities to demonstrate the power of sustained decreeing. You realize that every challenge that arises after you make a decree is actually testing and strengthening your faith in divine truth. This daily practice of continuous decreeing while walking in present kingdom consciousness creates an unstoppable spiritual momentum. Each day builds upon the last. Each decree strengthens the next. Each manifestation increases your faith for greater miracles. You develop what I call decree mastery, the ability to speak divine truth so consistently and confidently that your life becomes a living demonstration of spiritual law in action. The beautiful paradox is that the more you decree, the less you need to decree about specific problems, because your life increasingly reflects divine truth automatically. The more you live in present kingdom consciousness, the more naturally abundant, healthy, peaceful, and joyful your experience becomes. Now, I want to go even deeper into the ultimate expression of this spiritual authority, because there comes a point in every serious practitioner's journey where decreeing becomes so natural, so automatic, so powerfully effective that you step into what can only be described as mastery over the creative forces of the universe itself. Comment below, I live in kingdom consciousness now. Now, I want to go even deeper into the ultimate expression of this spiritual authority, because there comes a point in every serious practitioner's journey where decreeing becomes so natural, so automatic, so powerfully effective that you step into what can only be described as mastery over the creative forces of the universe itself. If you've made it this far in this journey with me, you're not here by accident. Something inside you recognizes the truth in these ancient principles. Something in your soul is awakening to the reality of your divine creative power. You've discovered that you are not a victim of circumstances, but a co-creator with the infinite, wielding the same words that spoke the universe into existence. The beautiful truth is that your life is about to change in ways you can't even imagine yet. Every decree you speak from this place of understanding carries the authority of heaven itself. Every word aligned with divine truth sets in motion forces that will reshape your reality. You are stepping into your birthright as a child of the Most High, reclaiming the power that was always yours. This channel exists to walk alongside souls like you who are ready to dive deeper into these life-transforming truths. If this message has touched something in your heart, if these principles are calling you to a higher way of living, subscribe to this channel. There's so much more to explore together, deeper teachings, practical applications, and revelations that will continue to expand your understanding of your divine nature. And if this video has been a divine appointment for you, if you sense that these words were meant specifically for your ears at this exact moment in your journey, comment below, "This message was meant for me." Your acknowledgement creates a connection that goes beyond this screen. It's a declaration that you're ready to step into the fullness of who you were created to be. The fact that you've stayed with me through this entire teaching tells me something beautiful about your heart and your hunger for truth. Would you click that like button as a way of saying yes to this journey, yes to your divine nature, yes to the transformation that's already beginning in your life? Your spiritual journey doesn't end here. There's a video right here that complements this topic perfectly, diving even deeper into how to maintain this consciousness in practical daily life. Click and continue with me over there, because the next level of your spiritual awakening is waiting for you.